Okay, we're live on we're live for the podcast. We're live on Instagram, and we'll just start chatting.
Yes, for
Okay,
sure.
So
First setup is amazing, by the way.
well, you say that.
Bravo.
But
It's amazing.
we are like, this is the thing with business. I feel like people are like, oh, I have to have like all of this fancy stuff. But in reality, I'm just like in the corner of my guest room with like one mic and a laptop. And you just kind of make it work, don't you?
Well, the beauty is in your work. The content, you know?
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, thank you. Well, the beauty is in your work, and I'm excited to delve into what it is. So for anyone watching this in real time or later, I'm here with Katie from the Violet Fog. She is a good friend of mine here in Austin, and she owns the Violet Fog Potions, which we're drinking right now, and they are so good. And so today we're just going to be delving into really biohacking. Katie's an expert in this space, and I know everybody is always asking Faith, like, what are some really simple, actionable things that I can do to optimize my health or heal? So hopefully we can just like pick your brain and get down to it.
Definitely.
Okay, so Katie, what about how about just a little backstory? Like, how did you get here? Like, how did you get into potions? Because I knew you before this all started, and now you're just blowing up. I'm sure everybody would love to know, like, how did you attain this knowledge?
So I've been running the Violet Fog blog since 2015. And I've always described it as I basically break down scientific studies into girl talk. And I call myself like a health and wellness reporter because I am just like a digger of information. And I like to get all these different types of opinions and come back with like a research paper of like, all right, these are the opinions of like 10 different experts, something like that. And so that's just been kind of a constant for years now. And I always wanted to do an alternative coffee drink or a superfood and adaptogen blend because it's been huge for me. Like I would always share, I call them potions.
Yeah.
So I would always share my potion recipes. And my whole thing has always been proportions and dosages because, you know, you and I, we talk all the time about how Western medicine has failed us in so many ways. And like, I'm sure we can get into that, but you know, one way that I continuously heal myself and show up for myself is I have very dialed in superfoods and adaptogens that I take specifically for adrenal health, for stress, for the brain, for longevity. And I'm like, it's about the dosages because a lot of the blends would have such small amounts and I'm like, yeah, that's great for the vitamins, minerals, and like all of that. But to really move the needle, you have to look at what the science said and how much they're using per day. And so that's why our blend now, you know, only has 5 ingredients. It's a full tablespoon. Like it is a no joke dosage. And that's why I believe it to be super effective.
So how did you, because I remember like last time we were filming something, I was pregnant. I was like early days pregnant. And you were like, oh yeah, I could make you a potion. And this was, I think like before, or at least before like it actually existed as I know it. And I'm really interested to learn. I mean, was it just that you were like, okay, I'm wanting to address stress, etc., and what I'm doing isn't working for me, so I'm just going to dig into it? Is that where it came from? Or were you like, I just see a need for this because everything I see is junk, and so maybe I'll like spend more time researching it? Or how did that go?
It was a little bit of both. And so like I at first so like with my own story, like I had gotten off Adderall, which you and I both share that journey. I had gotten off Adderall, off antidepressants, and I had a very messed up gut from years of antibiotics, from UTIs, and just Western medicine telling me I would only have a normal life if like I did this and mess up my gut, which, you know, messes up your brain, your mood. And I remember being like, and at this time I couldn't really afford to go to a functional medicine doctor yet, or rather like I didn't know how to prioritize my money yet to fit that in. And so I would buy these superfoods and adaptogens because I was like, my neurotransmitters are like shot, you know, like I need to do something because I'm so stressed. I'm so cerebral and in my head all the time to the point where it is running me down. My mood is all over the place. I need to find something that is going to sustain me and something that's just going to be a reminder every single day that I'm in charge of my body. I can do this. I'm going to keep picking nourishment and health. And I also just love a good beverage. Like I am such a beverage girl, and like I like think of myself as like a good witch. I love to just like mix things in the kitchen, and and like I just, kind of realized like a lot of they were great single ingredient brands. And then I would be buying these different bags and then mixing it together. I'm like, why isn't there a blend? And then I realized like the blends, it just like the dosages are just way too small. So it's like it took me years, don't get me wrong. It took me years until I really did something about it. But I'm like, okay, like if someone's going to do something about it, it's going to be me. And I'm going to make the blend of my dreams. And so the first one that we have is the stress and stamina blend.
So, okay, I'm trying to think about which question to ask you first. So how did you, like, were you trying these potions and then you were like, this is just ineffective? Or how did you get to the discovery? Because I remember you posted something on Instagram and I can't remember, I don't want to call out a certain brand, but I think it was like a mushroom coffee or something. Mm-hmm. And you were like, there's not enough of the product in there to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, because we have like really famous doctors who are highly respected talking about these brands and how amazing they are. And then you're there kind of exposing, which I love that you do that. You've also done that for RX bars, which like blew everyone's mind. And it's your peanut butter.
I got some hate for that one.
Well, do you know
what? That was the first time the TikTok people came after me. I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so apparently though, if the TikTok people are coming after you, you're doing something right.
Yeah. For sure.
But that could be a whole other conversation because everyone pretty much recommends RX bars. And but that being said, so how did you figure it out? Were you just trying, like you're like, okay, I want to get control of my health. I want to try my own approach. Here are some awesome brands. I'm trying it and it's not feeling any different? Or did you just like, is that how it started?
Yeah. So like I remember, one of our next blends, spoiler alert, this is the first time I'm saying it, is going to have lion's mane in it, which is a mushroom that like I think is incredible for focus, brains, neurons. Like it's just neuroregenerative. It's amazing. And the literature really does state you need at least like 2 to 3 grams to really make a difference. And I do remember like getting this blend that had lion's mane in it. And it was like, but I swear like half of the ingredients it's just like this coconut creamer. And then it had a little bit of lion's mane. And I remember it saying like 500 milligrams. And I just didn't notice like that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And then I just started digging into the data, the science, and I was like, oh, well, like that makes sense. You really need like where people have seen an effect is about 2 grams. And so I got just a single ingredient lion's mane and I started using 2 grams and like over time I was like, okay, like I'm actually noticing a difference. And I feel like I'm the perfect case study for this right now because I'm ADD. And my neurotransmitters at the time, again, like just felt fried. And I was just noticing more and more focus. I'm like, okay, I really think there's something about the dosage. And then also with cacao. So cacao is such an interesting one. So we lead with cacao. And I think cacao is like, we were just texting about this the other day. I think it's like, if you guys wonder the things that Faith and I text about, it's just like cacao.
Random food things.
Yeah, totally. And cacao is it is such a dopamine producer. And I think it's so interesting because so I remember first taking it and like I would see on these packages the recommended serving was like 1/4 of a teaspoon or something. I would take it. I wouldn't really feel very much. And then I started realizing like, oh, you really need about a teaspoon to like really get that like big dopamine boost. But then, I mean, I'm very like neurotic. I would get even more into it. I'm like, okay, but a lot of like the cacao powders can have like lead in it and things like that. So you need to like get a specific kind of cacao, always organic, a supplier that's third-party tested, all of these things. And so then like, that's the whole other thing is like finding the right cacao. But 1 teaspoon of cacao, like for me, I was like, whoa, like I really feel this. Even like half a teaspoon, like I feel it. But 1 teaspoon, like I really do. So that's what we put in our blend.
Okay, so it's coming from someone who knows very little about this. Is that why like people say just eat dark chocolate?
Yeah, I think like because it is dopamine producing. The darker the chocolate you can get, the better. I really think it has to be 72 or higher
to get the results.
Yeah, and I forget where I read that, but I remember like being like mind blown, and it was like there was some type of research linked. I wish I had that exact thing, but I've just like remembered that number, 72 and above.
72 and above.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about stress. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
What should we be doing?
So I really think that is like the entire intention behind the potion. No matter what blend comes out, it's going to always be about adrenal health and stress. Okay. And so I say like, it's not even just about like this drink. I think it's taking moments throughout the day to pause, deep breath, do a body scan. I think like the importance of body scans are so important. Because like there are times when, you know, you'll be going throughout life and you're like, whoa, like how long has like my back been feeling this way? Or like, when did I start kind of getting that like hunch? I didn't even like realize it, you know? And so I'll do body scans throughout the day just to check in with myself and send myself like messages of like safety and healing, and that like I know, you know, like I know it's going to be okay. And at any, like, I'm always kind of talking to myself. I'm like, you got this, girl. You got this. And you're healing today. And like, you know, and if someone like sneezes around me or something, I'm like, all right, immune system, you got this. Yeah. Like I'm always just telling myself like, it's going to be good. Because I believe that the cells listen. I would love to hear what you say about that, because you would talk about that too. Yes. Cells listening.
So it's Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is one of the leading stem cell scientists in the world. And he was able to prove the science behind kind of taking epigenetics to the next level, which is not just your environment affects the way that your genes express themselves, but your subconscious affects the way that your genes express themselves.
For sure.
And so, you know, I think a lot of us like in the healing community understand that, because we physically like are going through or have been through the process and understand that it all really comes back to your belief systems and your beliefs about your body's ability to heal and fight and rebuild. But it's cool to have the science, because then it gets a lot of other people on board.
Yes.
And it really just takes it one step further. It's one step further than your environment. It's your belief systems and what you believe to be true. It's not your thoughts. And I always talk about this on like my TikTok lives, but really, if you want your reality to be different, the belief train goes belief, thoughts, actions, reality. So at the end of the day, if you
say that again.
Beliefs, thoughts, actions, reality.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you, and a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy, I find they stop at thought, actions, reality. It's beliefs, thoughts, actions, reality. And so what you're saying is so funny. It's not funny, but it's aligned because I say to my students all the time, pause your day, punctuate your day with moments of mindfulness. And this is how you get into the habit of just like resetting your nervous system. Like you said, like I am safe, I am good, I'm in my body, I'm present, however you come to your senses, or just like, you know, ground yourself. But I love that that's like part of your potions, like take your potions in that space.
It's the ritual. Yeah, it's my signal to punctuate. And I love that you say that. It is my signal to punctuate. I'm sure you agree with this. Like I always, like so, sometimes I'll hear people say, well, like I get enough rest, like sleeping. But like sleep is obviously the ultimate parasympathetic reset.
Right.
But I don't think that that's enough. I think we have to have, as you say, punctuating like throughout the day.
Yeah.
And even if you do it once for 5 minutes, like what I do every day, I like stop with my potion, I make it, and I like honor it. I have such this strong like mind body connection with my food. I'm like, this is going to soothe my adrenals. I'm going to get such a nice dopamine boost from it. My blood is going to be flowing all nice from the hush you woo in it. Like this is going to be so great. I'm ready to receive this. I deserve it. And so I'll drink it. And then what I like to do after is I stretch. I think like talk about biohacking. I think stretching is like so underrated. We're always talking about like go to yoga for 30 minutes to an hour and like love that, but I can't always do that.
Yeah.
And I'm super ADD and that's not always like my thing. But then I think people are so all or nothing, like, well, I'm not going to yoga, so like I'm just not gonna stretch. But stretch like in your own home just for a couple minutes. You feel so much better. Like touch your toes, like have your head hang upside down or put your feet up against the wall. It is such a game changer. You like change the trajectory of your day and like you're strengthening your muscles. It's so good for your tendons and ligaments. It's amazing. And the research says you only need 10 minutes of stretching a week to optimize longevity. So that means just like a couple minutes a day.
Wow. I like to stretch before bed. I try to do it in the morning, but having a baby, it's like you're like, the baby's crying. No, but it's like
you kind of super mom.
No.
And I'm obsessed with Leo. Okay. Side note, really quick. Like I die for him.
Oh, thank you. I do too.
He's so cute.
He's so sweet and he's so fun. And as they get older, it gets better. It's hard at the beginning when you're really into like your routine and health and wellness, and you get this baby and it just like throws everything off and you're like, oh my God. But it gets easier as they get older. So I'm the opposite of most parents who are like, no, they're getting older. I'm like, yes, thank God.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Okay, so stress. So we started talking about how, first of all, when you take the potion, I love the ritual, by the way. I'm always telling, like, part of actually the work that I do with my one-to-one clients is creating rituals. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, we just allow 5 minutes a day to this ritual. We time block it. Time block is really important for the brain. Yeah. So a visual time blocking of nothing is going to penetrate this healing bubble, which is the visual time block on my calendar for my ritual. Yeah. And everything in that ritual needs to be as magical as you can make it. So order the glass coffee cup online and, put your potion, like do all the things that spark joy, and make it magical. And that's why I love the word ritual, because that's what we have to do. And we have to get in the habit of honoring that. And then, in doing so, we start to see the validity in it and the benefit, and then it becomes easier. Sure. So I love that that's all tied into the ethos of the brand. Let's talk about what's in the potion.
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, it does lead with Criollo cacao, and I love it. It tastes so good. And I think that flavor does really come through. Yeah. And then we use Peruvian maca. And you always want to get your maca from Peru. In case people don't know that, you always want to, like, wherever you source herbs or plants, like, it's just always best from where it originates from. And you support that country, that local community. I think that's important. So like we source from Peru. And our maca is so good. It's grown super high in the Andes. Wow. And that makes a difference because the higher it's grown, the higher the antioxidant level typically.
Wow.
And there's 3 different color macas. We use all 3 colors, even though like it's not too much of a difference even if you were just to use one color, but like it's still a little bit better. And I want to be the best. So I'm like, I want to do that. You always want gelatinized maca because it is way more bioavailable, 4 times more nutrient dense. Super easy for digestion, so always gelatinized. So our maca is just so good, and I love that for stamina. I feel like that is like the internal roar that I get. And then after that, we have ashwagandha, which is amazing for producing like feelings of calm but not tiredness. And so we use ashwagandha, and I think ashwagandha like in and of itself like kind of smells like bread in a way. Like I really like it, and I think it blends so beautifully. I think all of the ones, everything that we use in this blend, all 5 like blend together really well. And then so ashwagandha, which is incredible, and then reishi mushroom. And we use a reishi mushroom. So I prefer lab grown because mushrooms are so finicky and they absorb everything in their wake. And so like the thing is that like, yes, if it's natural grown, you will get a little bit more antioxidants, but like it's not too big of a difference. But the risk of being natural grown for certain mushrooms, it's like it absorbs so much. If there's pollution like near it, it's going to absorb that. If there's bird poop, it's going to absorb that. If there's like something funky or like going on in the soil, it's going to absorb that. So for mushrooms, I really do prefer like currently lab grown, and I like full spectrum, both mycelium and fruiting body. That's like a whole debate in the mushroom world. There's experts that are very loud about fruiting body, and then experts that are very loud about mycelium. And what I have found is both of their arguments like make a whole lot of sense, you know? So I think one of the newer age thinking is going to be using full spectrum mushroom, like use both the mycelium and the fruiting body. And so, so that's what we use. And then hashiwu, which is a Chinese herb, and it is incredible. It's really good for just that gusto, that vigor, vitality. They even use it for hair, like strengthening your hair follicles, which I think a lot of people who are dealing with stress and aren't reaching for this potion, like, hair fall happens with stress. So I'm not saying that this is going to be the thing that like helps with that, but like little things add up. Here. And so, so that's also one reason why I wanted to put hashiwu in it. A very safe amount, because of course, like you never want to like overdo it with Chinese herbs. They're so powerful, Wow. And so, like very safe amount, but like effective. Yeah. And, so those are the 5 ingredients.
They're so cool. I mean, it tastes so good.
It tastes good. There's 4 grams of fiber in it, which like you rarely see in a blend. So I love that.
Yeah, it's oops, sorry, I'm just trying to like squeeze the piece out here. It's so delicious. It's so like you said, like it's like almost chocolatey. It is chocolatey, but like in a clean way. Yeah.
And there's no sweetener, so you can put whatever you want in it, whether it's monk fruit, honey, maple syrup, or you don't have to sweeten it. But but I like to sweeten it just like a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do about half water, half milk.
And when is the best time? How is the best way, and when is the best time for people who are like, oh, I want to start incorporating this in my life?
Yeah. So we have found like two things. So the people who are trying to fully replace their coffee are using this in the morning. Because like as that like gusto, and it's not like there's only like 7 to 10 milligrams of caffeine per serving because the cacao is a little bit, lightly caffeinated, but I mean, a cup of coffee is like 90 to 120 milligrams.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah. So like barely any. But then there are people who are like, so I'm not anti-coffee whatsoever. I still have a cup of coffee every day. I'm just anti that second or third cup of coffee, especially if you can't metabolize caffeine well and if it's become like a super crutch for you. So where I really like this potion is between 2 and 3 p.m. Every day, that's when I have it. And it's because that's always the time when I start to like hit a little bit of a slump. And before I would reach for coffee, but then I would start messing up my sleep cycle. And like, as you know, like you got to guard that circadian rhythm as much as you can. And so I'm like, okay, this is like, I just can't do that. So I take my potion at that time and it is enough to like, ignite me, like push me into the rest of my day. And I like have this like super nice dopamine boost. Like I just, I breathe deep, I stretch, I just feel so dang good. And it's like my like day starting all over again at like 2 to 3 p.m., but I don't mess up my sleep cycle.
I love that. I feel like I relate to that so much. And actually, as you're saying that, I really do feel a difference.
Yeah.
In taking this.
Awesome.
Like I just feel a lot of mental clarity.
Yeah.
And like
it's nice.
It's good. But obviously it's different than caffeine. Like for someone who's not on this side of the camera having a conversation, caffeine is that, oh my gosh, the heart racing, like adrenaline, like I try to minimize that as much as possible. I do like a cup of coffee in the morning, but I physically can't do 2 cups of coffee, like no matter what the circumstances, because I'm very sensitive to caffeine. Like I tolerate it well, but I'm sensitive to caffeine. Yeah. In general, I feel a lot of mental clarity throughout the day. However, when you're sitting in front of something and you're thinking so much, sometimes your brain is like, oh my God, I just need like a break for a second. And I can totally see where this would come in really nicely. And again, back to the ritual, just a moment to like refocus and get your perspective in the right place and not go on that sort of like train as such where you get at the end of the day and you realize you have a bunch of to-dos and you're just sort of checking things off instead of being in creation mode.
Yeah, totally.
So I always try to find hacks. Like how can I get back into a creative mode, even though it's like 2 or 3 p.m. versus feeling like I've just got a bunch of tasks that have stacked up for me that aren't really going to move the needle forward. So I'm just thinking about how like this, that's what I'm going to start doing.
Can I ask you a random question?
Always.
What is your favorite sweetener?
Honestly, I use a lot of monk fruit because it's like 0 sugar.
Mm-hmm. I like monk fruit too.
Yeah. What's yours?
So I like monk fruit. And then if I make it, I don't always do this, date paste.
Yeah, I love dates.
And I prefer it over syrup because then you still have fiber in it. I just melt. It's so easy. I just like throw it in a boiling pot of water for a little bit. Let it sit there for like hours. Sometimes I even leave it overnight if I'm like a little bit lazy. Then I just blend it the next day. And then I like have this nice little mason jar and I just scoop out.
So it's like actual dates.
Yeah, it's actual dates.
And you boil them.
I'll get the dates that don't have the pits in them, or I'll make sure that I take out the pits. Yeah.
And you just boil them.
It's so easy. And then you just throw it in the blender.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have dates. I've been snacking on dates a lot recently. It's one of those things that I get it and I'm like, there's no way I can stop. Like I start 1, 2, 3. And because I wanted Leo to try them. Like he doesn't have a lot of sweet, but on his birthday he had some cake. And so I was like, okay, he likes sweet, but that, we're kind of careful about that. So I would just give him a little bit of date and he was obsessed with it. So obviously, so I bought, I'm going to do that. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I get date like syrup, not having the fiber, I guess, when I go to different places in Austin, but I always kind of wondered how we got there.
Yeah.
So how do they make the syrup out of curiosity? Because if it doesn't retain the fiber.
I am not exactly sure.
Okay.
I feel like they have to like melt it down at extreme temperatures. That's my thought process. Or I really like don't know. All I know is that I look at the bottles and it has no fiber.
Interesting.
And so, yeah.
So, okay. So I'm trying to think the best place to go. We could do you have a favorite, what's the word? What's the different like parts of the blend?
Do I have a favorite adaptogen?
What is an adaptogen? Let's start there.
Yeah, for sure. So an adaptogen is a plant that has been scientifically proven to support the HPA axis. So hypothalamus, pituitary gland, adrenals, and sometimes you can even say OT, ovaries, and thyroid. Like I think adaptogens can also be wonderful for the thyroid. But so an adaptogen really helps bring your body into balance. It's really great for cortisol, which, like, as you know, super high cortisol is not going to do you any favors. And so, and it really does help you. Like, it's not like you're going to take it and like automatically go into parasympathetic, but it helps your body adapt to stress. And the goal is that it should help you ease into a parasympathetic more often and in an easier way. And like, it's just kind of calming for the nerves.
That's interesting.
Not tiring. Not tiring.
Yeah. Okay. So which one's your favorite?
I would say Peruvian maca. I really think like, you know, like I'm autoimmune, I have Hashimoto's, and like a huge thing that people like deal with is fatigue, you know? And so like, and fatigue has always been that thing that I battle with, like really trying to, and I feel like I'm at my best now, but all of my 20s, I was so tired all the time. I was just always tired and always like looking for things to rev me up, you know, and I would have like reliance on coffee and that wasn't good. And so I would say like maca is like one of those ones where I like took it and I was like, wow, like I really do feel a difference. So much so that I even love maca as my pre-workout.
Really?
Yeah. I love it. It's like it's not like you're like, okay, I'm ready to run a marathon or something right after, but it's just this kind of internal strength that it gives you and stamina. It's also really good for libido.
Interesting.
You know, and I do think that libido problems can come from low fatigue.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense to me why it also helps with that.
And I assume though it's over like a duration of time. Like people are, because a lot of things when you're like biohacking in general, it takes time.
It takes time. Oh, for sure.
And so it's when you're not doing a quick win, if you will, you know, and it can be a shock to the system for people who are like transitioning into the more like holistic medicine world. And it's like, this isn't working. How much time does it take? Like how long would someone be biohacking with maca before they notice a difference?
Yeah, probably a few weeks.
Okay.
Like ashwagandha, I'd say about a month. But maca, but here's the thing, like sometimes you can't, like depending on what your body needs and how sensitive you are, you can get a bit of a quick win sometimes from maca. Like so much so that a lot of like holistic practitioners, especially those in Ayurveda, even like someone first trying it, like they're like, don't take it at night because this will keep you up, you know? Okay. So like you can get a quick win from it, but I do think that adaptogens start to work better in like a few weeks.
Yeah.
Where I do think you get a quick win from the blend is the cacao. Because that is like instant dopamine boost. So that's really nice.
It's like what I feel like already from what we made it like 30 minutes ago. Yeah. What are some other biohacks that helped you with energy out of curiosity? Because we both kind of had this like same ish feeling. And for me, it was definitely just like coming off Adderall and then also having all these other, I think Adderall masked all these other chronic symptoms that I had. And then when I stopped taking it, it was like twofold. Like all these chronic symptoms came to light, but also like my neurotransmitters were shot just from so many years of Adderall usage. So I was in every sense of the word struggling. But I'd love to know what works for you because in general, you know, fatigue and anxiety are really those two buzzwords that people want to know. Like, what can I do like right now to move the needle forward?
Yeah, for sure. So for energy things, so I do think working on your circulation really helps with energy. Like when your limbs and everything feel really sluggish, you like just don't want to do anything. And that just adds to the heaviness of how your body is feeling, which, you know, can play tricks on your mind. And so I do think like quick wins, dry brush. I always you dry brush, right?
Do you know what? I haven't since I got pregnant and I'm doing a big like detox. I say campaign, but not everything has to be work. I'm doing a big detox when I'm done nursing. I have 2.5-ish more weeks. And then I'm doing like a cell core parasite cleanse and castor oil packs. Yeah, I've never done parasite cleanse, castor oil packs, coffee enemas, I don't know, dry brushing.
Yeah.
Infrared sauna, all the things. Like I'm going really hard because I just feel it. I feel it so much.
Yeah,
and I haven't
watching your stories, you're saying that.
Yeah. And I haven't really done like a really big detox, and I struggle anyways to detox. And then when you're pregnant, you have to be so careful.
Yeah, and breastfeeding.
But you know, I have some acne on my face. Part of it, I believe is my hormones shifting just from like stopping nursing.
Yeah.
There's a huge shift that happens there in that like kind of however long it takes you to taper off.
I can imagine.
But I don't know how to describe it. I can just like feel it. I feel in the time that I wasn't really supporting my detox pathways. And mind you, like when you're pregnant, you go through, so the baby takes a lot of your magnesium as well as your thyroid hormone. So you get a little hypo and you have very low magnesium, which means you're constipated.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, just not feeling your best in every sense of the word. So now I'm just like, I am ready to like, I think that's what my body needs. Yeah. It's not like feeling not good, but it's feeling like it could be better.
For sure. And you're at a point now where like you're so in tune with your body and you know what to do.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I have the GI map test coming in, but that doesn't test for all the parasites. I like to do the GI map every year. Are there any like bacteria that shouldn't be there or fungus?
I love the GI map.
I know. It's
so amazing.
I hate taking it. I love having it.
I know. Right.
But yeah, so for me, I'm gonna start the dry brushing and so many other things. But yeah. So keep on with that.
Amazing biohack. I love doing the armpits and backs of the knees.
You dry brush your armpits?
Mm-hmm. I'll dry brush my armpits and the backs of the knees. Yeah, because you have a lot of lymph nodes there. And like, don't feel like too hard or anything, but I feel like this instant buzziness. It feels so good.
For how long? So you have like one armpit. Like how long are you dry brushing?
Let me think. I probably like will brush it maybe like for like 20 seconds.
How often?
So when I'm doing good, I'm dry brushing every day.
No way.
But that's when I'm, when you're like so on top of it, and you're like, but that's not every day. Like you can sustain that for so long. So, but what I'm happy with is if I'm doing it like 4 times a week.
And is that specifically your armpits and the back of your knee?
And I do my legs. I don't even take that long. So there's some people who are like, you need to dry brush for like 10 minutes. I've never really like done that. And I get results just from dry brushing for like 1 to 3 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do that. And I think that really does help with energy. It's like dry brushing, working on your circulation. Again, legs up the wall. I will be preaching that until the day that I die. It is one of the best things. It helps activate parasympathetic. It's so great for your hips. Like, it's so nice to get that blood that's pooling at your feet, rushing to the core of your body. It re-energizes your legs. And I think that there's just so much power and emotions even stored like in our legs, Mm-hmm. So I think just like kind of getting that energy unstuck feels so good and is energizing. So that to me is like a huge biohack. Sometimes I will take SAMe with TMG, this powder, that bliss powder from MSW Nutrition. I'll put that under my tongue for a quick like dopamine or serotonin boost when I need it.
Sammy, I haven't tried it. I thought about it. I'm thinking about it maybe when but the thing is I have energy, but I'm always trying to look to optimize because now that it's not an addiction because it has a negative connotation, but in a way it is for me because it's like now when you get a taste of what it feels like to wake up and feel good and stay feeling good, you're constantly going to be searching for ways to even go to the next level because it's just so amazing. And I think and
it's fun to learn about. It's like, why not? Like real life, like you could be so perfect all the time. And every now and then you're going to have a moment where you're like, I could use a little biohack.
Right.
Like I could use that serotonin booster.
Well, and why not live to your fullest potential? Like, I feel like there's always so much more potential there to be found, right? Mm-hmm. And so I love it. So anyways, I was talking about it with one of my good friends. We also talk about this. And she is like, she's been taking it. She loves it. Yeah. But how often do you take that?
I use that like just when I need it.
Okay.
Or like sometimes like I'll even use it when I'm in like such a good mood and it's like, I like barely ever drink, but like if I do, like, that feeling of like, I'm kind of having fun right now. I want to have a drink. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm having fun right now. I want to have my serotonin booster and I'll like pop it in,
Interesting.
But typically I really do use it when I just need that. If like, it's not pretty often that I need it. I'd say like I only take it maybe like once a week. Okay. And so, but there are people who take it every day. It's also super good for your methylation cycle. If anyone's wondering, it's Bliss. It's called Bliss. It's SAMe plus TMG. They're both cofactors in the methylation cycle.
Right.
And so it's also really good for your liver. Really great for anyone with MTHFR gene mutation. But I love that. So I'll take that sometimes.
What about for your liver? Because liver used to be. Was it like liver's the new ass? Was that your slogan?
No, brain is the new ass.
But did you have liver on there at any point?
No, but I did used to have in my bio, like, because I would talk about the liver all the time. And I still, like, love talking about the liver, of course.
So can we talk about the liver, just, like, in general? Like, what can we do to support that detox pathway?
Yeah. So I do think getting in charge of your emotions, because so much emotion is stored in the liver. I do think like if you're gonna drink, maximize your detox, and like be smart, like eat some food while you drink. Obviously like properly hydrate, take a liver support, milk thistle, things like that. I do think like NAC plus liposomal vitamin C before, during, and after drinking is one of the best things because it prevents alcohol from turning into formaldehyde, I think. And so like it's amazing. So I think like, if you're gonna drink, just extra care for your liver. Like gone are the days where you should be like, I'm just gonna have this greasy meal to get rid of my hangover. Like no, like repair, any damage. So support your liver in that way. I think cruciferous vegetables for like people who like do well with it. I eat a ton of cruciferous vegetables, and like I want to get, because it's precursor to DIM, which helps dump out excess estrogen. So I think that is like a huge thing that you can do. Those are my favorite liver tips.
And do you take NAC like daily or just when you drink?
I take it pretty often. Yeah, because I do have that MTHFR gene mutation. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is sort of a side note. I take glutathione. I don't know if you prefer for some reason NAC. I take NAC if I'm congested.
Yeah.
And I take I pump like a bioavailable glutathione from Quicksilver.
I love that too. Okay. I honestly, I would do like either or.
Sometimes,
like I switch back and forth because NAC is the precursor to glutathione. Right. NAC can be a little bit less expensive. Like glutathione can be so expensive.
And and that's what I'm, and this is the other thing when you become kind of like a supplement junkie, and it's exciting, you go to people's pharmacy and you're like, okay, like, try to not let it be too expensive, but it is expensive. But yeah, I mean, I gave NAC to my baby. We were like really sick when we got back from Europe for like almost a month.
Yeah.
And I gave it to him when he was congested, and within like 2 days, because we were sick for so long and I couldn't kick it. And kind of, you can't, really give them any medication at that age. Right. And so they just can't breathe, and it's really sad. And then I work with a functional medicine pediatrician, and she said, you can actually give him like adult NAC twice a day, and it'll kick the congestion. And I had no idea I could give it to him. And within like 2 days, he was better after a full month of being sick.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, should I switch, like, because I know it's the precursor, and I just didn't know if you had like an opinion on one being like more advantageous to take. Yeah. I take the glutathione because I know the Quicksilver, and this is glutathione in general, really helps with like glowy skin.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're taking the right amount of NAC, it should kind of give you the same results, if you will.
The only time it wouldn't, I think, is if like your body has a hard time converting NAC into glutathione, and in that point you have to do some type of testing, I think, to figure that out.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask about the testing. That is it GX Sciences? I think it's the GX Sciences test. That's genetic mutation testing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what you did, but we just did it with Leo because I have like a COMT and a double MTHFR.
Mm-hmm.
I really struggle to detox, and I struggle to methylate and all of that. Leo has one mutation, which is like one MTHFR. So he takes like a lotion that's methylated B6, B12, folate, and then K and D, and a lotion on his stomach. Yeah. But a lot of people are like, how do you get that information? So, I mean, definitely, I don't know another way to do it besides a functional medicine test, unless you've done
functional medicine
testing. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to be willing to spend that money. Ask for it for your birthday present. A great test.
I literally agree with that so much, because I think what people don't realize is if you're not on top of it early on, like from a preventative standpoint, the whole purpose is to prevent chronic long-term illness, which is as a result of not being able to convert, if in this scenario, essential vitamins. And since every system in the body requires nutrition to function, you're talking about some seriously detrimental, like long-term chronic issues that manifest. And so I absolutely think it's worth it. Like I said, we did it for Leo, and I learned recently that methylation is like the most important between birth and puberty. Like it's incredibly essential for like developing properly through puberty. And so that like everyone should be testing like birth, which obviously I didn't know that, but
I did not know that either. I mean, it makes sense though.
Yeah. Okay. So we did energy hacks, liver hacks. What else? What's like the most common question that you get about this that maybe someone's wondering?
I always get people like asking, like, why are the adrenals so important?
Let's talk about the adrenals. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's so funny because they're like such little organs that are just right on top of your kidneys, and they're so small, but they do so much. It's basically your hormone factory. and it is tied to your immune system. It's tied to metabolism. It's tied to ATP production, so energy. And why I think it's just so important is like, it's also how strong your adrenals are. It can help you slip into parasympathetic more often, that rest and digest. You want to be caring for them all the time. And, there's, whether you're supporting it through food, also like mentally, but the thing that's tough is like when your adrenals go, that's like one organ it's like so hard to repair. Like the liver, highly regenerative, even like lungs, right? Like you get sick, it's like so easy to actually like pretty much build that back up. But adrenals are one of the toughest ones to regenerate, or it takes the longest amount. It's not impossible. So if anyone's like, my adrenals are shot, I've been there, and like my adrenals, I feel them like healing every day. And so, so I just think that we need to be talking about it more because like you need to just meet yourself where you're at right now and get real with yourself. If you think that you're battling with burnout of your adrenals.
How would someone know if their adrenals were burnt out?
If they are chronically stressed, if they are tired but wired, and often that can manifest in like, let's say like you go throughout the day and you're tired, but then like you get this burst of energy kind of at night, or like in the evening, and it like does not at all match like your energy levels throughout the day. That's oftentimes a sign that like your adrenals are going through something. So that's a really big one. It can also like play into metabolism. If someone's like having a hard time losing weight, obviously like thyroid side into it, but thyroid and adrenals go hand in hand.
Right.
And so, but yeah, if you are chronically stressed, if you are not getting enough sleep, like there's a really good chance that you're stressing on your adrenals.
And that happened to me the second time that I had a relapse. I think my adrenals were shot from taking Adderall.
Totally.
Yeah. And well, as in like I 100% blame Adderall for that. Like it changes your temperament completely. Like it makes you almost feel like you are someone who's just like anxious and jittery, but like you're not. It's the drug. But after I stopped taking it, my adrenals were shot. Yeah. I had no capacity to withstand external stressors at that point. And so I had a stressful event and all of a sudden it triggered everything. And if you have an underlying gene that could be turned on and be an autoimmune disease or some type of chronic illness, I feel like it's even more important to be aware of your adrenal role because like for me, I keep it at bay mostly because of, yes, my lifestyle, but my ability to get my nervous system in the right place and to regulate it. And without that ability, I mean, anything can set you off. And it only takes one event to put you back into a spiral, which is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, that, and I just had no capacity to withstand the stress. Right. So what can people do to get back in control?
So I think when it comes to proper nutrition, I really think if someone is struggling with their adrenals, look into adaptogens, whether it's MyBlend or something else, look into adaptogens because they really have been studied to show that they do help that HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals. And so, and be willing to, again, like try out that long-term relationship with it. And you can test out different ones and see what works for you. But I think adaptogens are really wonderful for adrenals. I have one functional medicine doctor, we talk about that all the time. And he even will make these tonics of just of different adaptogens. And so, yeah, so I think like that's a good one.
And which ones are the best?
Yeah, so I think ashwagandha is amazing for adrenals, like so wonderful adrenals. I think rhodiola is another one that's super good for the adrenals. And then there's other ones that are like more for if you're more tired. I forget exactly like those. I tend to not do those ones because I'm so good with sleeping. Like, yeah. But I really do think in my mind, or at least like speaking from my experience, the two that help me the most are ashwagandha and rhodiola.
And what about for sleep? What if someone's having trouble with getting to sleep or staying asleep?
Yeah. So I really think like you have to wonder why, because I have noticed that a lot of people they know what they have to do. They're just not doing it. They're not executing. They are staying on their screen. Like sometimes like I wonder that people just don't want to take responsibility for the reason why they can't get to sleep. Like there's like this one gene, I think it's AMTG. I like could be botching it, but I think it's like AMTG, and it's basically it helps like turn on your melatonin, which helps you fall asleep, and it's only activated through pure darkness.
Yeah.
And so like if you have like a screen there, You're not going to get tired.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I interviewed, have you heard of the brand Defender Shield? They make like EMF protection devices.
I don't think I've heard that one.
So the guy who like founded Defender Shield, he was the first person to create EMF protection devices, which was mostly in Europe, where they were, as per usual, kind of like early adopters of the technology. And one of the things he said is that when you're around EMFs, you go straight into a sympathetic state. When you put it 4 feet away from you, you have 80% less exposure just by putting it 4 feet away.
Wow.
And so, and then, again, he says it's always about duration and distance. Yeah. So if you're trying to mitigate the consequences of, being exposed to 5G, EMF, everything, just think about like, how can I distance it further and obviously use it for less amount of time.
Yeah.
But really and truly, when I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, there's so many things that we also probably don't think about. And beyond the blue light, there's really no need to sleep with your phone so close to you.
For sure.
Like you could, if you like some people have like severe separation anxiety from their phones, they can't cope with it being in another room. So like even just putting it 4 feet away and turning the Wi-Fi and 5G off.
I need to be so much better about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's hard because like we're so addicted.
Used to your phone being right there.
Right. And we're like, what's going to happen if it's over there? But even so, I mean, if you think about it, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you look at your phone, you're going straight into a sympathetic state to start off your day.
Faith, I do that all the time.
I know, it's hard.
And I preach like these things, but like that is like something that I really need to work on. I always like go straight for my phone.
So I try to, and this is what we work with my clients, at least 30 minutes. Like right now, like as of today, my new goal is 2 hours, which is like, it is hard, especially when your job is like on your phone and like social media and stuff.
I know. That's how I justify it, but it's like we gotta find a way to not.
It's hard. Yeah. But like just thinking, and then beyond that, of course, there's all the other effects of like, you see something COVID related and it's straight back into, sympathetic state. But totally. I mean, so there's so many like dimensions for why technology like isn't good for sleep. But I thought that was so interesting. And the other thing was like turning your Wi-Fi off at night. Using a monitor. Like right now I have my computer, but in my new house, we're having like the computer plugged into an Ethernet and then just like a monitor close by. So like even that like decrease in Wi-Fi exposure.
It's going to be so nice.
It makes an impact. But okay, so sleeping, I agree with you is what I'm saying. Sleeping wise, I feel like there are so many things that you can do to move the needle forward that it's like, have you really mastered the basics before you're like, it's not working?
The basics move the biggest boulders.
I agree. And I think there's this like misconception that the basics aren't actually going to make a difference. Like it's too simple. So like I don't want to.
It's too easy. It's free.
Right. Yeah. But like stepping outside in the morning to get the sun on your skin and to like get your circadian rhythm in the right place. But most people haven't heard of it, or they know and they're like, yeah, but that's too easy.
Right.
Is there anything else that you'd recommend? Like, is there another like adaptogen that people could take for
at nighttime?
Or is that usually like a daytime?
Well, this isn't an adaptogen, but I do believe that CBD is really great for nighttime.
I love CBD.
Even just in general, like that's another one. It's like biphasic. Like if you take more of it, it can like make you a little bit more like tired, which is oftentimes what you want at night. If you take like a smaller amount, it can actually be more like just focus but either way, so great for inflammation and all those things. But my favorite like nighttime thing, if I'm going to take something, is CBD.
I love it.
Always nanotech straight into the bloodstream.
Oh yeah, you always talk about, is it Beam? Isn't it what you take?
Yeah.
Beam. I was off CBD for a long time. There are actually a lot of cultures who like will prefer like marijuana or CBD for morning sickness over like Zofran, like what we have. But then you just never know. So I'm like kind of scared. So I stayed off, but it's something that I really miss, especially being sick when you're like, you can't take, because CBD is so like when you don't feel well, I'm always to my clients, if you're open to it, magnesium as well. I mean, get your blood work done, but most people are magnesium deficient, especially because a lot of pharmaceuticals deplete magnesium.
What type of magnesium do you like to take?
I take like the citrate at night, and also glycinate. But some people can't tolerate the citrate. What do you take?
I take the glycinate or theranostate.
Okay.
There's so many good, it's like bottom line, get your magnesium in, whatever works best for you. But
I'm getting my blood work done this week, so I'll see. I usually try to like see where my magnesium is at, but I feel like I could always use the support of taking a citrate. But anyways, I digress. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the potions. Where can people find them?
Okay. So if they go to VF, V as in Victor, F as in
Faith.
F as in Faith. Yeah, vfpotions.com. So we are online, free shipping. We're also, if you're in Austin, like tons of different farmers markets.
Aww.
Yeah, I love doing the farmers market. So we're there, and that's where they can get that. If they ever have any questions for me, I'm at the Violet Fog.
Yes, and honestly, this is awesome. I'm gonna bring it like bulk buy and bring to the UK. But
I'm so glad.
I definitely think, if you're interested in biohacking and you're passionate about people delivering a product with integrity, vote with your dollar. Today I drove 40 minutes out of the way to go to a farm to get, eggs, meat, and milk from local farmers who are fighting to deliver the best quality, and their products are, again, full of integrity, and I can trust that, I'm giving this to my baby and there are no like weird antibiotics in there, or the good bacteria isn't gone. And I just think in general as a consumer, like if you're consuming the information and you want to continue to see entrepreneurs like bring good products to market, vote with your dollar. Don't like just try to skim. I'm just genuinely don't go try to skim and get some weird like half-ass maca out there that's not going to make a difference, So definitely check it out if you're interested and get the good stuff, because there literally are no shortcuts. So you can try to save $10, but at the end of the day, people who are on the other side who've done it and have hacked it will tell you that the number one rule is there are no shortcuts.
Yeah, there's none.
Moral of the story.
Yeah, moral of the story.
Just get the good stuff.
There is not a single shortcut out there.
Okay, so I'm going to link all of your stuff in the show notes. Anything that we didn't cover, well, I'm sure there's lots of stuff, anything like regarding the potions or anything about like your story that we didn't cover that you want to get out there?
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, great.
We covered a lot, though. What a great
We did. It was fun. All right. Thanks, guys, for being here.